My name is Elara Voss, 34 years old, senior analyst at a consulting firm in downtown Seattle. I have always believed that data, like people, only lies when it's forced to. For 6 months, I built a model that could predict regional market shifts with nearly surgical accuracy. It was supposed to be my moment, the one that proved I belonged in a room full of people who never remembered my name until they needed my work. The conference room smelled faintly of coffee and tension. I clicked to the final slide, my voice steady despite the thrum in my chest. If implemented, this strategy could expand your growth margin by 17% in the first fiscal year. A chair scraped behind me. Step down. At first, I thought I misheard. Then, Marianne Keene, my division head, rose from her seat. Her tone was sharp, rehearsed. Step down. Now. She turned toward the clients, offering a crisp half-bow. We apologize for allowing an underqualified employee to present this critical project. Her words cracked the air like glass under pressure. The clicker slipped from my hand and hit the table. I heard someone's quiet gasp, the shuffle of papers, a throat clearing to fill the silence. Marianne walked past me with the smooth confidence of someone claiming a stage. "I'll take it from here," she said, smiling as though she were rescuing them from me. I looked around the table, 12 faces avoiding mine. The presentation screen glared white where my last slide had been erased. My pulse pounded behind my ribs, but my voice never broke. I pressed save on the backup file, closed my laptop, and stepped away. The hallway outside was all glass and rain. I could see my reflection beside the city skyline, small, steady, unbroken. My hands trembled once before I clenched them in my pockets. I had learned long ago that silence, when used correctly, could be its own kind of weapon. As I reached the elevator, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Meet me in the lobby in 5 minutes, important. The screen glowed in my palm. I exhaled once, slow and deliberate, and turned toward the lobby. The lobby cafe was half empty, the kind of place built for quick meetings and quiet dismissals. Rain slid down the glass in fine, trembling lines. I spotted her before she waved. Dr. Corinne Ashford, one of the clients who had watched the chaos unfold upstairs. She sat perfectly still, a porcelain cup untouched before her, posture so composed it made the entire space seem rehearsed. "Ms. Voss," her voice carried a calm authority that didn't invite pity. "Dr. Ashford." I took the seat opposite her. My pulse hadn't quite settled since the meeting, but I hid it behind professional poise. She studied me as if reading a chart. "You handled that well," most people would have argued. "I considered it," I said. Then I remembered who held the microphone. A small smile. "Smart choice." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Your model is correct. The projections align with independent data I reviewed last week." The words struck harder than Marianne's insult. "You reviewed it. I recognized the framework. You used the Ashford volatility equation, didn't you?" "Yes," I admitted, unsure whether to apologize or defend myself. "I credited the paper, of course. You did more than credit it." Her tone softened. "You improved it. The adjustments you made solved an instability my team couldn't reconcile for years." I sat back, stunned. Marianne said my conclusions were amateur. "Marianne Keene doesn't understand the equation," she said flatly. She dismissed what she couldn't control. Her eyes held mine, sharp and unyielding. "Listen carefully. Don't confront her. Not yet." I hesitated. "Then what? Watch. Then document." People like her always repeat themselves. When they do, evidence will matter more than anger. Her phone buzzed. She silenced it without looking away. "You have potential, Ms. Voss. Protect it." When she rose to leave, I noticed the faint smile that followed her words, one part encouragement, one part warning. I stayed at the table long after she left, the rain still tracing lines down the window, as if marking where the truth had started to show. That night, I didn't turn on the lights. The glow from my monitor was enough. Outside, the city blurred through the rain, but my focus stayed on the screen on the project files that had built my career and quietly stolen it at the same time. I opened the archive folder, scrolling through the timestamps. My name appeared beside every draft, every formula, every revision. Then, weeks before each final submission, the pattern shifted entries from Marianne Keene. Short edits, title changes, nothing substantial. And yet the published reports bore only her signature. I whispered it out loud, as if saying it made it real. You used my work. The memory of those nights came back sharp and vivid, eating cold takeout at my desk. The hum of the cleaning crew, my inbox filling with Marianne's late-night messages. Great start. I'll refine and finalize. I had believed it meant teamwork. It meant replacement. I opened the code repository next. Each project left behind a digital fingerprint, a syntax choice, a naming habit, the way I tagged each revision with my initials. She had kept those too. My style ran through every model she'd claimed as hers, like my handwriting on her report cards. A message pinged from IT backup server archival limit reached. Would you like to compress? Yes, I murmured. Compress, encrypt, save? My fingers moved faster now, driven by something sharper than anger. I created a private external folder, set a long passphrase, and named it Truth Archive. When the progress bar hit 100%, I finally exhaled. The quiet of my apartment settled around me, heavy and deliberate. I checked the clock, 2:26 a.m. I backed up the folder to a drive and slipped it into my briefcase, the weight of it almost reassuring. Marianne believed silence made her untouchable. But data, unlike people, never stayed loyal to power. It stayed loyal to whoever told the truth first. I shut down the computer, the reflection of the blue screen fading from the window. In that moment, I knew she hadn't just stolen my work. She'd left her fingerprints all over the crime. Marianne called me into her office just before noon. Her assistant's voice was smooth over the intercom, the kind that gave you no choice but to comply. Inside, the air smelled faintly of citrus polish and control. Marianne sat behind her glass desk, posture perfect, smile polite. "Elara," she said warmly, "come in. Let's talk about this morning's disruption." She gestured to the chair across from her. I stayed standing. "I want you to know," she began, "that public correction is never personal. It's leadership. Sometimes we need a wake-up call to understand our limitations." I met her eyes. Understood. Her smile tightened. "Good. Because I see potential in you, but potential without direction is chaos." She slid a folder across the desk, crisp, labeled Performance Improvement Plan. I glanced at the bullet points. Achieve 250% client retention improvement. Launch 3 new models within 60 days. Lead training for regional teams. I almost laughed. She watched me read. "Ambitious, I know," she said lightly, "but I think it will help you refocus. And if I fail? Then perhaps this isn't the right environment for you." She leaned back, folding her hands. "Consider it a professional crossroads." The room went still except for the rain against the windows. I closed the folder slowly, letting the silence stretch. "Marianne," I said softly. Just to clarify what was Section 4 in the Thompson report about her expression froze. Just for a second. "Section 4, she repeated. "Remind me what you mean." "The methodology section," I replied. "The part you presented at the Kelvin conference last year." A faint tremor crossed her smile. That was statistical validation. I believe." "Validation," I echoed, nodding. "Right." I placed the folder neatly back on her desk. "I'll review this plan." "Good." As I turned to leave, her voice followed me smooth again, but thinner now. "Elara, don't make this harder than it needs to be." I didn't answer. The war between us had already started, and the quiet was my first weapon. The next afternoon, I met Dr. Corinne Ashford at a small cafe tucked behind Pike Place Market. The hum of tourists faded outside. Inside, the air carried quiet conversation and the scent of espresso. She was already seated, her coat draped neatly over the back of the chair, a tablet open in front of her. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know it's risky meeting like this. I've already been humiliated in front of 12 executives," I replied. "I'm past worrying about risk." Her smile was faint but approving. "Good. That will help." She turned the tablet toward me. On the screen were data graphs, my graphs renamed under different file paths. Marianne Keene presented these same projections at a closed session 6 months ago. Recognize them. My throat tightened. Yes, I built that model from the ground up. Corinne nodded. "That's what I thought. She's been using your architecture for longer than you realize." I leaned closer. "You said you recognized my framework. Why?" "Because it's based on my own." She paused. "I'm the Ashford from the Ashford-Kern model, the one your manager called theoretical fluff." I blinked, the realization sinking in. "Your yes." Her tone was dry. "Apparently. I've become a footnote in my own work." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she slid a small drive across the table. Inside are public records of her presentations, dates, transcripts. You'll need to align them with your version logs and internal timestamps. That will prove authorship. I hesitated. If I move too soon, she'll bury the evidence. Corinne shook her head. Expose her only when she feels untouchable. People like Marianne tighten their own noose when they believe no one's watching. I took the drive, its weight small but immense in my hand. Corinne's gaze softened. "Be patient, Elara. Truth takes longer to rise than lies, but when it does, it stays." Outside, rain blurred the glass again. For the first time in days, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about how carefully I would build what came next. The meeting request arrived at dawn 9 a.m. Conference room, B, HR and legal in attendance. No subject line, no explanation, just the kind of summons people didn't come back from. By 8:55, I was seated at the long table, my laptop in front of me, palms cold despite the coffee I hadn't finished. Lynn, from legal, offered a professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. Beside her, Sharon from HR clasped a notebook like a shield. "Thank you for coming. Ms. Voss," Lynn began. "We'll keep this brief." I nodded, forcing my voice steady. "Should I have brought a witness?" "Not necessary," Sharon said quickly. "This isn't disciplinary. We just need to clarify a few things regarding your recent presentation." "Clarify?" I repeated. The word felt like thin ice. Lynn leaned forward. "Dr. Ashford's team raised concerns about conflicting data between your version and the one submitted by Ms. Keene. We'd like to review your original files." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Of course." I logged in, the familiar directories flickering to life. "What exactly are you looking for?" "Version histories, edit trails." I opened the archive folder. Line after line appeared timestamps. Author tags, revision notes. Every one of them carried my initials. Lynn's eyes narrowed. "No entries from Ms. Keene, none," I said. "She never accessed my workspace." Sharon leaned closer. "So the final version she presented, how was it submitted directly from my terminal?" I said quietly. She used my credentials the night before the submission deadline, before they could respond. The door opened. Corinne Ashford stepped in, followed by Mr. Benton, our CEO. The temperature in the room dropped. "Please continue," Corinne said, taking a seat. Her tone was calm, deliberate. Lynn cleared her throat. "We've confirmed authorship discrepancies. The data supports Ms. Voss's account." Mr. Benton looked from me to Corinne. "I assume this ties into our client engagement." Corinne met his gaze. "It does, and it's about to tie into much more." I sat very still as the room shifted around me, the truth finally leaving my hands and landing where it could no longer be ignored. Marianne called me into her office late in the afternoon. The sky beyond the windows had turned a flat, silver gray, the kind that blurred every reflection. She stood when I entered, the warmth in her smile stretched too tight to be genuine. Elara, she said softly, close the door. I did. The click behind me felt final. I've been thinking about everything that's happened, she began, gesturing toward the seat across from her. You've been under a lot of stress. So have I. Let's start fresh. Her voice was sugar over glass. She slid a folder across the desk again. This is an updated offer. You'd report directly to me as lead strategist. 40% salary increase, performance bonus, and full control over the project with Veltra. I kept my hands in my lap. What's the condition? Her eyes flicked up. Steady. A standard confidentiality clause. No references to internal disputes, authorship, or misunderstandings. It protects everyone. Everyone, I echoed. She leaned forward. You deserve recognition. I want you to have it. But we both know dragging this out will only hurt your career. I studied her carefully. Her nails tapped against the desk in even rhythm, her posture practiced. She'd already decided how this conversation should end. When you accused me of being unprepared, I said quietly, did you know you were wrong? Her jaw tightened. That's irrelevant now. We're fixing it. I see. I stood, placing the folder back in front of her. I'll think about it. Her expression softened into something that almost looked like relief. Good. Let's move forward. Elara, you and I work better when we're on the same side. I left her office and stepped into the corridor, the sound of rain faint against the glass. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I called Corinne. She answered on the first ring. She offered me a promotion. I said, and silence. Corinne's voice was calm. If you sign, the story ends. I looked through the window at the city below. Then I suppose I won't sign. The summons came before sunrise emergency board session. Attendance mandatory. By 9 a.m. The executive boardroom felt colder than the rain outside. Every seat was filled. Veltra Industries delegation on one side, our senior team on the other. Marianne sat near the head of the table, calm and composed, as if she had already rehearsed her victory. Mr. Benton, the CEO, began with corporate gravity. We're here to address concerns raised by Veltra's lead consultant, Dr. Corinne Ashford. Corinne rose slowly, her presence enough to command silence. Thank you, Mr. Benton. She turned toward the projection screen and connected her tablet. I'd like to clarify the origin of the data models presented to Veltra yesterday. My stomach tightened. Lines of code appeared on the screen mine. Each line carried the signature tags and timestamp logs I had built into every framework. These sequences, Corinne said, belong to Ms. Elara Voss. Each was written and modified under her credentials over the past 3 years. You'll notice no trace of revision or authorship by Ms. Keene. Marianne laughed softly. With respect, that's circumstantial. My work was merged into her drafts for efficiency. She handled execution, not design. Corinne's expression didn't change. Let's test that. She tapped again, and the next slide filled the screen a video recording. Marianne, standing on stage at the Kelvin Innovation Awards, accepting her trophy for the Thompson Report. A reporter's voice echoed through the room. Ms. Keene, can you explain how the Ashford-Kern model functions in your analysis? Marianne smiled confidently in the video. The Kern component focuses on correlation between consumer trends and volatility margins. I believe? The clip froze mid-frame. Corinne faced the room. That answer was wrong. The Kern function measures elasticity over time. The method she ridiculed yesterday was mine. No one spoke. Marianne's hands clenched against the table. Mr. Benton broke the silence. I think we've seen enough. Corinne gathered her tablet, calm as the storm outside. Integrity, she said quietly, isn't theory. It's traceable. And just like that, the room that had once erased me fell completely still. By morning, the news had spread across every floor. The official memo called it an ethical review. Unofficially, everyone knew what that meant. Marianne Keene suspended indefinitely. I walked through the office with the strange quiet that follows an explosion. People glanced up, then quickly back to their screens. A few murmured congratulations. Most just avoided eye contact. Vindication had a way of making others uncomfortable. At noon, Mr. Benton stopped by my desk. "Good work yesterday," he said stiffly, as though the words themselves cost him something. "Veltra is pleased. We'll be in touch about next steps." He left before I could answer. By evening, the messages began short, careful notes from colleagues. "Proud of you, but be cautious. Things move fast here. Stay quiet for now." I deleted them all. The apartment felt heavier than usual that night. I set my phone on the table, trying not to look at it. Then it rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my chest said otherwise. "Elara Voss," I answered. A pause. Then a low voice, hoarse but controlled. "You think this is over?" It was Marianne. I said nothing. "You have no idea how many people I've spoken to today." She went on. "You think one client's sympathy can protect you? The board wants this buried. They always do." Her tone wavered between rage and desperation. "You embarrassed them. They'll fix it. And when they do, they'll fix you too." I tapped the side of my phone, starting the recorder. "You should get some rest." "Marianne, rest," she repeated with a bitter laugh. "You just made enemies you can't even see." The line clicked dead. I played the recording once, then saved it under a new folder. Safeguard alongside the evidence that had already changed everything. Outside, the rain fell in steady rhythm against the window, the same sound that had followed me since this began. Only now, it didn't sound like warning. It sounded like consequence. The announcement went out at noon, official correction issued, authorship of the Thompson Report and related models credited to Elara Voss. It was a single line in the company's internal bulletin, clean, unemotional, designed to erase the chaos behind it, but for the first time in years, my name wasn't missing. By afternoon, my inbox filled with quiet acknowledgments. "Congratulations." "About time. You deserved this." The same people who had avoided eye contact last week now remembered how to say my name. I answered none of them. The next morning, Corinne asked to meet. We sat by the same window at the cafe where all this began. The city outside was blurred with rain again, as if the weather itself refused to move on. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel different," I admitted, not finished, just quieter. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "That's what truth does. It settles, even when justice doesn't." I hesitated. "Do you think I destroyed her?" Corinne's eyes softened. "You didn't destroy her. You simply stopped protecting her." The words landed gently but stayed heavy. I thought of Marianne, of her immaculate office, now empty, of the silence she'd left behind. Corinne stood to leave. "Veltra is moving forward with your methodology. Expect a call from their director next week." "Thank you," I said, meaning it more than she knew. After she left, I walked back toward the building where it had all started. The lobby was nearly empty, the polished floor reflecting gray light and passing umbrellas. I stopped by the same glass wall where I'd stood that morning weeks ago when my career had cracked open in front of 12 silent faces. Rain slid down the glass, tracing the same thin lines as before. I touched the pane once. Steady. "Next time they tell me to step down," I whispered, "I'll decide when." For the first time, the sound of the rain didn't echo against me, it moved with me, soft and unafraid.